Good afternoon, Earth. This is Adam Sturch broadcasting from Garage Art today, working on oil painting. Here we are. I moved the light, so yay, now you can see the top part of the painting, and it won't be like a blur of light. So today I'm going to start with some lemon yellow to pronounce the background a little bit more around her upper right portion, upper left, where her arm is above her head. And then we're going to continue with scales. I have some green mixed up, matched to the old green, running low on maples, so I'm going to try and finish the scale line work today if I can. So here we go.
Little fellas feel the flow. Little mamas in pajamas with the time is psycho, psycho, like no other. Make your lover laugh. Hey, hey, hey. Not too long, what's up with that? Everywhere I run, I aim and I'll be gone. Oh, from the moon to the sun. Yeah, we gon' be rolling until it's done. When the sun rises, when the sun rises, oh, we gon' do it again, we gon' do it again.
My poetry goes from the bottom of the lake. We took it to the shoreline and caught up in the break. Music is my religion, it's never been a mistake. Even if you don't listen, you can listen in the same. The ears of the earth are the ones that I chase. Innovative and never scared, look at where your face. They will in the carrot at the end of a string. Running, not gunning for money, even though money is needed. I'm gunning for cutting, listen if you didn't see when I'm ready. I'm trying to be the minute, all the way around the body. You can take a minute, but I need my fans. She can leave fans are the best in the bands in the ear. Trying to be another year, nothing black. Open to the ways of the universe and back to the simple conversations on the couch with dad. Banning bullshit on our way will only give a stronger leg. Ground to the earth like tree trunks, check that map. Traveling maps, unraveling mysteries in the back of a record intact like that. Face grab on the dot. Blast off quick is the weight of the walk, is the weight of the world and the way that we talk.
Everywhere I run, I aim and I'll be gone. Oh, from the moon to the sun. Yeah, we gon' be rolling until it's done. When the sun rises, when the sun rises, when the sun rises, oh, we gon' do it again, we gon' do it. When the sun rises, when the sun rises, when the sun rises, oh, we gon' do it again, we gon' do it again. I'm always beginning, right at the ending. Oh, it's alright, we gonna run it tonight and let go. I'm always beginning, right at the ending. Oh, it's okay, we got a brand new day to let go. I'm always beginning, right at the ending. Oh, it's alright, we gonna run it tonight and let go. I'm always beginning, right at the ending. Oh, it's okay, we got a brand new day to let go.
got control of your mind, your worldview. Is it the news or the movie you taking your girl to? Know what I'm saying? Cause I'm just saying, got a plan. If you examine what they're telling us, then you will understand what they planting in the seeds of the next generation. Feeding our children miseducation. No one knows if there's UFOs or any life on Mars. What they doing when they up in the stars? Because I don't believe a word of what the president said. He filling our head with lies, got us hypnotized when he be speaking in cold words about crime and poverty, drugs, welfare, prisons, guns, and robbery. It really can touch. There's no excuse for the slander, but what's good for the youth is still good for the gander. See,
I don't believe Bob Marley got me cancer. 31 years ago, I would have been a panther. They killed you because they knew he had the answer. The views that you see in the news is propaganda. I don't wanna come through and shut down my arm. I don't wanna die by a nuclear bomb. I say we all rush the Pentagon, pull out guns and grab the intercom. My first words will be, I believe man made God. Out of ignorance and fear, and God made man. So why the hell would he put us here? I thought he's supposed to be the all-loving, the same God who let Hitler put the Jews in the ovens. We don't fall for the regular shit. They try to feed us all this half-ass leadership, flip the position. They turn politicians and shut the hell up and follow tradition. When your TV screen is telling lies to your vision. Every channel got some brainwashed cop shit to watch. Running up in the scripts claiming that they heard shots. It's a plot. But Buster, can you tell me who's greedier? Big corporations, the pigs or the media. Sign of the times, terrorism on the rise. Commercial airplanes falling out the skies like flies. Make me wonder what secrets went down with Ron Brown, who burned the churches to the ground with no evidence found. It's not coincidence. There's been too many steady incidents. It could have been a clan who put that bomb in the Olympics, but it probably was the FBI. Deep at the war, cause if they make us all panic, they can start martial law. I don't believe Bob Marley got from cancer. 31 years ago, I would have been a panther. They killed you because they knew we had the answer. The views that you see in the news is propaganda. I don't believe Bob Marley got from cancer. 31 years ago, I would have been a panther. You killed you because you knew we had the answer. The views that you see in the news is motherfucking propaganda. CIA, ATF, KKK, IRS, TNT, CBS, NBC, FBI, CIA, ATF, KKK, IRS, TNT, CBS, NBC.
Great love and a great understanding, and that we try to extend this to the general black population and also oppressed people all over the world. And I think that we differ from some other groups simply because we understand the system better than most groups understand the system. And with this realization, we attempting to form a strong political base based in the community with the only strength that we have, and that's the strength of a potentially destructive force if we don't get freedom.
You might not be able to see it, but it's a very old, rugged piece of plywood. So I'm trying to kind of putty the cracks with the paint as I blend. So it's going to take some time. But anyway, how we are on time? It's 15 minutes worth. Okay. I think we can continue the yellow around her right side, which I would like to do. But I think I'm going to glow up that building on her left first. Here we go. Okay, so that lights up the background a little more cleanly and gives the edges of her hand a little bit more definition. And zoom in on that, I think, without blowing the aperture out now that I move my lamp. Yeah, so anyway, as you can see, the lemon yellow is a pretty translucent paint out of the tube. So that's pure viscous lemon yellow. Pretty thickly layered, but it works well because I'm kind of puttying in the cracks of the rough wood. So zoom in on the texture there. It's kind of nice. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, so from there, I guess I'll zoom back out and nitpick various portions and then get back into scales. So, get that dialed in for the next session. And take 2 is coming up soon. Alright, next step, before I proceed with scales, I'm going to mess with her form and coat, color and shape a little bit before I continue layering and it becomes too flat. When I do so, it won't be integrated enough. So I'm going to fix that and then we'll move on from there. Here we go.
I look is another house Negro. Talking about their people and how they should be equal. They're talking about the conversation ain't going nowhere. You can't diss hip-hop, so don't you even go there. See the Morris Tucker, you wanna quote scripture? Every time you hear nigga, well listen up, sister.
I met up with this girl named Dolores, a prankster. I said I MC, she said you're a gangster, but she was caught up. She hit the floor like a break dance, wrapped her up like the arms in the B-boy's hands. You look honey, cause out here you get scarred. She said, where you from? I said I was born up in the South Bronx, but now I reside across America. She said, you the one who keep wars and all that mass hysteria.
Wisdom shall come out of the mouths of babes and something, but you're blinded by cultural ignorance instead of judging. But judge not, lest ye may be judged. For the judge we judge, ye shall surely be judged. You get snow.
She said, I like it, that's why I jock it. Then I said, you only on my dick because I feel mother's pockets. Cut the bullshit, take me to your past. She said, I would give you the ass because I like the way your pants act. Spread her legs with the other head, she threw the kitty. Then I spread this like graffiti on the titty. Freestyled all night, no doubt. That bitch couldn't get enough, but she was from the fuck. Yeah. The masquerade has ceased, but yet the party's just begun. We are the ones to celebrate that face-to-face with self and make it fun. The pain's a fact of earthly ways. Won't let another mask distract me from my new birthdays, cause I continue growth like hair and nails. That I'm afraid to fail, but I feel not giving. Keep on living life like presents open. In the morning on Christmas as a 10-year-old, I witnessed my 2x2 cell created by me in my mind. Now I'm out of hell on the field of gold. Can you feel my soul inside this song like a whole crux? I go nuts, but goosebumps on my skin when I go in and bend space-time again. Come along, my friends, I'm going on and on till the end. Sweet, sweet pain. Swimming around my brain. There's nothing left to gain. Everything stays the same. Pain means change. Swimming around my brain. There's nothing left to gain. Everything stays the same. Sometimes pain is my healer. I watch the free rain on my grill like a dealer on the corner trying to sell me comfort from my own feelings. The thing that makes me human, I'm fuming out the years with fumigation for the earthlings. My passion is the birthing. I'm cursing those nursing from the bosom of the devil. An outlaw on the threshold of mesmerizing all who take a gander of a gypsy. Just lift my weight and I got you. I fly to get busy with many more minds than a million. I'm building up to the ceiling. See yellow, my fellows, just jump right in. The sun might be the petrol to bend you back to shape and get you peeling back layers of the retro. You, the old you, is now dying. Welcome to the strange land of pain, where man must change to make way for the next lane. Speed away on the highway, byways. It's a fine day to change. Sweet, sweet rain. Swimming around my brain. There's nothing left to gain. Everything stays the same.
Alright, that didn't take very long. But that gets layered up a little more evenly for more layering and gets her form a little more defined. So I'm going to cut that there and then come back probably for scales unless something else strikes me that needs to be done today to let dry this week before I continue with scales.
To discover consciousness.
Alright, zoomed in just a touch and I'm going to start working on some scales.
Whoever discovered water, it certainly wasn't a fish. Well, we are fish swimming in consciousness, and yet we know it's there. Well, the reason we know it's there is because if you perturb it, then you see it. And you perturb it by perturbing the engine which generates it, which is the mind-brain system resting behind your eyebrows. If you swap out the ordinary chemicals that are running that system in an invisible fashion, then you see it's like dropping ink into a bowl of clear water. Suddenly the convection currents operating in the clear water become visible because you see the particles of ink tracing out the previously invisible dynamics of the standing water. The mind is precisely like that, and the psychedelic is like a dye marker being dropped into this aqueous system. And then you say, oh, I see, it works like this and like this. Well, if psychedelics are catalysts for the imagination, and if history is driven by the imagination, it is driven through the fallout from the imagination, which is technology and culture. Technology and culture are the consequences, the derivatives of the ratiocination of the mind. And technology has, like biological life, but on a much faster or accelerated time frame, technology has this weird tendency to transcend itself, to bootstrap itself. You know, if you have a cart, then it implies better wheels, better bearings, better structure, and then higher speed, more control, more feedback from the machine. That means we need gas gauges, RPM readouts, so forth and so on. Technology, strangely enough, created by a biological creature, has itself this self-transcending quality, but ever accelerating. This is the important point, because the ever accelerating accretion of technology means that history is strangely foreshortened at the future end, because it happens faster and faster. It's like a process that begins very slowly, but once started has the quality of a cascade. The rate at which falling bodies move, 32.5 feet per second. Each second accelerates to twice the rate of infall that was occurring in the previous second. Technology is like this. And we now are in a domain where if we attempt to propagate technological development forward 50 years, it becomes unmanageable as an intellectual task. We can talk about the automobile, what it might look like 50 years from now. It would float, it would go 500 miles an hour, it would be guided by your mind, so forth and so on. These kinds of ideas. But when you think that every artifact of our world will undergo that kind of transformation, and that the synergy among these transformed objects will create phenomena and situations that we can't anticipate. That's the key thing. Our inability to anticipate the synergies between our technologies. I mean, the computer, LSD, spacecraft, holograms, organic superconductivity. Those are just 6 areas where the integration of those concerns will produce unimaginable consequences. Yeah. The ultimate boundary dissolution is the dissolution of ego. I mean, we straight people hope that they never meet it except at death. Of course, they don't realize going to sleep at night is a kind of ego dissolution. But the government is expressive of this dominator culture that we're living in. The ego is a very recent invention, and its hold on reality is very tenuous. And consequently, it walks around imbued with fear. I mean, it feels itself to be a mouse in a world of dinosaurs. That's because it's a very recent development. I guess I have to go back to this scenario of human development and say, just very briefly, here's how I think this worked. I'm not going to run through the whole evolutionary scenario, but this thing about ego. All primates have what are called dominance hierarchies. That simply means that the hard-bodied, long-fanged young males kick everybody else around. They control the females, the children, homosexuals, the elderly. Everybody is taking orders from this dominance hierarchy. And this is true clear back into squirrel monkeys. It's a generalized feature of primate behavior. And it's an aspect of our behavior as we sit here. Women, the feminine is not honored. The elderly are marginalized. Homosexuals, that whole issue. Many of our social and political ills stem from this attitude. Well, but you see, I believe that when we left the trees and admitted psilocybin into our diet, that it has the effect of dissolving boundaries and making this maintenance of a dominance hierarchy very, very difficult. First of all, the key on one level to maintaining the dominance hierarchy is monogamous pair bonding. That's where it begins. If in a society taking a lot of psilocybin, monogamous pair bonding breaks down because of CNS activation and sexual arousal. So in a psilocybin-using culture, there will be a tendency to orgiastic sexual behavior rather than monogamous pair bonding. What that does is it causes an incredible social cohesion, because in an orgiastic society, men cannot trace lines of male paternity. So men's attitude toward children is,
Touch
these
the eye.
children are all ours.
Careful.
We, the group. It's a glue that we, in our paranoid social style, with everybody having the deed to their property and their 11-foot high fence, can hardly imagine. But psilocybin was artificially suppressing this dominator behavior style in the primate, the evolving proto-hominid, now human being. When psilocybin was taken out of the diet, the old primate program was still there. It had not been bred out. The genes were always there. It's just that for 50,000 or 100,000 years, we medicated ourselves, literally religiously. We religiously medicated ourselves every new and full moon, perhaps oftener. These orgies were happening, creating social cohesion, propagating everybody forward. The problem was, when the psilocybin was taken away, we had been under its influence for perhaps 500,000 years. We had evolved language, rudimentary abstract philosophy, a sense of religion. We had invented technology in the form of using fire and chipping flint and all that. The psilocybin goes away, and suddenly these skills, these tools, these technologies are in the hands of marauding apes. Not anymore cohesive, caring human social groups, but marauding territorial apes, driven by the desire to control all weaker members of the social group. And that's our circumstance. We have, the tools that would allow us to sculpt paradise, but we have the reflexes and value systems of anthropoid apes of some sort. So the split between our conscious hopes, our best foot, and the bottom of the human scale is appalling. I mean, look at the spread. It's a spread from from Mother Teresa to serial killers. I mean, you don't get serial killers in the chipmunk population or the grasshopper population. I mean, these animals are not so set at variance with their basic nature that these kinds of pathologies can erupt. We, on the other hand, are half angel, half pack-hunting killer ape. I mean, we're an object fetish society. I mean, our entire psychology is characterized by a profound discontent. That's what we're about. It doesn't matter. No matter what's going on, after a little while, we get restless and move on. Other animal species are embedded in a kind of world of endless genetic cycling. No fox grows bored with hunting, and yet our thing is a profound dis-ease, and I believe it's because, and slowly you forced me to do this whole rap, which I swore I wouldn't do, I believe it's because the psilocybin led us halfway toward a kind of Godhead, but then it disappeared, and we are left in this very peculiar situation. This is the myth of the fall. You know, we are half angel, half beast, and these two natures are united in every one of us. And when you take psilocybin, you feel generally a great sense of community, an ascent to a higher level. If you completely restrict your intake of intoxicants of any sort, then you get the teetotaler type personality, which is characterized by incredible smugness, limited intellectual horizons, and an unbearable aura of self-congratulation that makes it pretty hard for the rest of us to put up with. Yeah. See, here is the final piece of this evolutionary key. Psilocybin, in small amounts, increases visual acuity. This is not an arguable point. I mean, you can just give people psilocybin and give them eye tests, and people with astigmatism see better. Your edge detection ability is greatly increased. Well, you can see that an animal like our remote ancestors, in a hunting environment in the grassland, if there's an item of diet that will make you a better and more efficient hunter, the equivalent of chemical binoculars lying around on the grassland, those animals that avail themselves of this technology will be more successful hunters. And so it was. Animals using psilocybin were more successful at raising their offspring to reproductive age. Well, then at slightly higher doses, you get this CNS arousal, which in highly sexed animals, such as primates, arousal means sexual arousal, an erection in the male. So then and without the overwhelming influence of Christian ethics to guide their behaviors, I'm sure these organisms simply flopped in a heap and sorted it all out later. So that's the middle range of the dosage. Low dose, success in hunting. Medium dose, social cohesion achieved through ego dissolution and orgiastic sexuality. Yet higher doses, 5 grams and up, hunting is out of the question. Sex is out of the question. You're just nailed to the ground by the campfire, and in the course of the evening you discover religion, philosophy, art, and all of that. So here is a unique chemical that at every dose level synergizes activity that leads to greater coherency and self-expression. The driving of the imagination. Yes, in the question back here you said we can't create what we can't conceive of. This is why what the psychedelic experience does really is it stretches the envelope of the imaginable. I mean, what can be imagined can be created. What cannot be imagined is not part of the play. So psilocybin really was a stimulant for the production of intellectual product in the form of songs, rituals, dances, body painting, abstract ideas. All of these things are what we are most unique. Well, that's how it seemed to me. It seemed to me culture is a shabby lie, or at least this culture is a shabby lie, I mean, if you work like a dog, you get 260 channels of bad television and a German automobile. What kind of perfection is that? We have our secular society. Religion is completely devalued, and consumer object fetishism is the only kind of worth that we collectively recognize. I'm sure you've all seen the T-shirt that says, "He," notice he, "who dies with the most toys wins." That is, in fact, the banner under which we're flying here. And the level of unhappiness is immense. I mean, the level of unhappiness among the poor, they've always been miserable. But we've managed to create something entirely new in human history, an utterly miserable ruling class. I mean, there's no excuse for that. Well, I guess this leads us to a subject worth talking about, which is it's very important to talk to the state or the substance, or if you don't talk to it, it won't talk to you. It follows the rules of ordinary etiquette, and it does not speak to strangers. But if you will say to it the simplest thing, like, "Hello?" then it will say, "Hello." And you say, "Is someone there?" It says, "Yes, ready and willing, what's up?" But if you don't speak to it, it won't do that. That is, to my mind, the strangest property of psilocybin is this speaking in English business. I mean, LSD doesn't do that. Ayahuasca doesn't do that. Psilocybin does, for some reason. This is not my illusion. Nearly everybody who spent time with it has commented on this. On DMT, you see who you hear on the mushrooms. On the mushrooms, you almost never encounter something that you can see. You see hallucinations, but you do not see the author of the death.
All right, I made it around that bend.
Did you know?
And that's a tricky bend. So I'm going to pause it here and pick up with another session after I do a memory card,
on DMT, they come
upload to my...
bounding out. It's stupid for me to talk about.
Alright, so now that I've got the light adjusted and you can see what I'm doing in the upper left-hand portion and across the top in general, I'm going to take a moment away from scales today and go up and sit in a sun. It's going to be slightly eclipsed by the black hole.
Here's a couple. Building on Western psychotherapy as elaborated by
Here, I
Freud and
suppose,
Jung, one
is
view
okay.
of what
You can see the moon
psychedelics
progress from
are
yesterday
is
too.
It's the part of your mind that you'd rather not
Alright,
do.
so I'm just going to fill that circle. Pretty simple
It's
step here.
the memories of childhood neglect or abuse.
It's okay.
It's repressed, kinky fantasies. It's, in other words, the Freudian idea of the unconscious, that somehow these are drugs which dissolve the boundary between conscious and unconscious mind, and then you can do accelerated psychotherapy because resistances have been pharmacologically overcome. That's one model. It's good as far as it goes. It just doesn't go far enough. Then there's another model, which I would call the traditional or shamanic model. And it says the cosmos is a series of levels. And these levels are connected by vertical routes of access, which can be thought of as simply flights through space, or magical trees, or magical ladders. Anyway, there's an image of ascent. And ordinary people exist on only one of these levels. But a shaman is not an ordinary person. A shaman is a superhuman person who has the power of animal allies behind them, and they can go up and down in these elevators that move between levels, and they can therefore recover lost souls, see social hanky-panky, theft and adultery, see the causes behind that, see the causes behind disease, so forth and so on. That would be the traditional one. What I have concluded after 25 years of fiddling with this is that both of those ideas have a certain something to recommend them, but that they don't go far enough, and that we get more to the meat of this if we leave off psychological, the first explanation, or sociological, the second explanation, and actually go for something a little more formal, to wit, a mathematical model of what shamanism is. And what I mean by that is, let's think about what shamans do. They cure disease, and another way of putting that is they have a remarkable facility for choosing patients who will recover. They predict weather, which is very important. They tell where game has gone, the movement of game, and they seem to have a paranormal ability to look into questions, as I mentioned, who's sleeping with who stole the chicken, who, social transgressions are an open book to them. Well, thinking about this from a mathematician's point of view, an all-encompassing explanation that would explain how all these magical feats are done is simply to suppose that the shaman is somehow able to project his consciousness, his or her consciousness, into a higher dimension, not metaphorically, as in Sylvester Stallone has many dimensions, not metaphorically, but literally, as in 1 dimension, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, and 4. Because if you could move into the 4th dimension, the dimension orthogonal to Newtonian space-time, seeing what the weather is going to be next week is as easy as seeing what the weather is now. Seeing where the game went is as easy as seeing where the game are. Knowing who stole the chicken is simply defined by looking to see who stole the chicken. And I have noticed that all of biology, not simply shamanism within the context of human society, but all of biology is, in a sense, a conquest of dimensionality. That as we ascend the phylogeny of organic life, what animals are a strategy for conquering space-time. And complex animals do it better than simpler animals. And we do it better than any complex animal. And we, 20th century people, do it better than any people in any previous century, because we can bind data in so many ways that they couldn't electronically, on film, on tape, so forth and so on. So the progress of organic life is deeper and deeper into dimensional conquest. Well, from that point of view, then, the shaman begin to
All right, so that plasters in a white circle pretty cleanly. Now I'm going to smear in some yellow.
That is as advanced over where we are as we are advanced over people a million years ago, because we have very elaborate strategies for coding the past. It's a dimensional conquest. So that's part of what I've learned about psychedelics, and I could have left it there, but I never do. I always want to bring more in under the umbrella of whatever metaphor it is that's being pushed. And what I have discerned is that time is actually speeding up. That the universe is not what physics tells us it is. Physics tells us that the universe is a physical system, an entropic system that was born in immense energy and chaos and will run down with a bang, with a whimper, not a bang, run down into heat entropy and dissipation. The psychedelic data on this is completely different. The psychedelic data says what that model left out was biology and mind. Now, biology, you might imagine, is a fairly ephemeral, recent, fragile phenomenon. It is not. The average star in this galaxy gutters out after about 700 million years. Not our star. We happen to have the good fortune to be around a very stable, slow-burning star. But there has been biology on this planet at least 2 billion years. 3 times the average life of a star. So biology is not some Johnny-come-lately epiphenomena. Biology is a phenomenon more persistent than the life of the stars themselves. And biology is not a static thing. A star evolving now is not greatly different from a star evolving 1 billion years ago. Biology doesn't work that way. Biology constantly changes the context in which evolution occurs. The way I have downloaded this into a phrase is the biological universe at least, is a novelty-conserving engine. Upon simple molecules are built complex molecules. Upon complex molecules are built complex polymers. Upon complex polymers comes DNA. Out of DNA comes the whole machinery of the cell.
Yikes.
Out
Okay.
of cells.
Alright, so that gets a sun floating in there and starts to balance out some of the yellow on the upper left as it does across the right. And once the scenes are in, it'll all meld together nicely, I think. But
organs of locomotion,
it's pretty
organs
decent.
of sight, organs of smell, complex mental machinery for the coordination.
Okay,
of
so
data
I think I'll cut it here. That wasn't long,
This is
and
the whole
do another
story of
round
the
of scales.
life. And in our species, it reaches its culmination,
Shortly.
and it crosses over into many prejudices.
Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little and work on that middle section of scales for another session, maybe 2, but most likely I'll get to about the yellow, where I've started the yellow, the lemon yellow that I just applied, on the next scale session. That's what I'm aiming for anyway, and then probably cut it there today, just because it's fucking hot, and also I can't really set my hand down anywhere to work anymore. And those scales require a resting point. So, but we'll take it for a little bit further. Here we go.
And that's where the difference lies. The 5-MeO does not trigger the most spectacular effect associated with DMT, which is these 3-dimensional crawling hallucinations that come out of the woodwork and reveal the true nature of reality. When you take 5-MeO DMT, you have all of the physical presentation of DMT. There's a sense of a kind of light anesthesia through the limbs. There's a sense of falling forward into a void. There's a sense of losing body boundary. Now, at that point in DMT, those symptoms would give way to the trip. At that point in 5-MeO DMT, those symptoms give way to the beginning of the come-down. And people who have never taken DMT sometimes rave about 5-MeO and say, oh, this is the most astonishing thing I've ever had to me. People who are familiar with DMT can yawn their way all the way through it because you're braced for the DMT thing. You think, oh my God, it feels just like it. Here it comes. It's going to be upon me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5. It's not coming in. It doesn't come in. And so, and then 5-MeO is fatal in sheep as well as dogs, spectacularly fatal in sheep. And so I guess if you're a sheep, it's counterindicated. Doesn't seem to be harmful in human beings, but with so little data available, like maybe we should, there are old psychedelicists and bold psychedelicists, but there are no old, bold psychedelics. Have I had any contact with the government? Not well, up until a week ago, the answer to this question was yes. No. When I got home from Epsilon the last time, there was a really funny letter, which I haven't quite figured out how to respond to. Dear Mr. McKenna, I'm an officer of the California State Police, fascinated with DMT, and recently read the interview with you in the San Francisco Chronicle. I wonder if you would be willing to meet with me and have coffee so we can discuss this at your earliest possible convenience. So, what I did was fairly chicken shit, actually. I found a copy of Food of the Gods, and I sent it off, and I said, this is my latest book, or this is a book of mine. It deals in part with DMT. Give it a quick read, and if you're still interested in a get-together, call me. So, I think, I don't know exactly how to interpret this. I've always felt that the reason the government left me alone was because I'm an intellectual. And in the United States, that is the most pathetic, ineffective, and form of non-entity known to exist. I think that the greatest period of American creativity in literature and in other areas too, arguably, was in the 20th century, was the 20s. And that's because an expatriate community conducted a critique of American society from a foreign vantage point, in that case, Paris. And I think that in spite of the Clinton hiatus, that the politics of life has not yet come to settle on the land of Jefferson, and that we should be prepared on a moment's notice, basically, to decamp to Prague and conduct all this from there. Also, Prague was the capital of European civilization before the 30 Years' War, before the rise of modern science. It's an Italianate city, untouched by either world war. It's a beautiful place.
Those who believe in democracy and freedom have a serious task ahead of them. What they should be doing, in my view, is dedicating their efforts to helping the despised common people to struggle for their rights and to realize the democratic goals that constantly surface throughout history. They should be serving not power and privilege, but rather their victims. Freedom and democracy are by now not merely values to be treasured, they are quite possibly the prerequisite to survival.
They're all reactions!
One thing begets.
Wow, a shovel!
Shut up!
First of all, it's both cool and fun and a great view with you, in part because 50% of the staff at our show are connected to this educational institution. Litam Malad is the executive producer of Intercepted, and Elise Swain, who's here somewhere, is just hired on as our production assistant, who's a recent graduate of SVA. And if any of you listen to our podcast or look at our webpage, the increasingly awesome graphics that we have for each episode with apocalyptic images of Trump as the mushroom cloud in Nagasaki, or today's with Trump as the frat boy at the door, the purge who's knocking on the door trying to get the black eye from the white people so he can tell them as part of his purging. Elise creates all of that magic in very, very quick turnaround times too. We throw a bizarre concepts at her. She's never complained. She's always like, yeah, that makes sense. Which when you're saying like, what would it look like if Donald Trump was the baby on Notorious B.I.G.'s Ready to Die album? Right? At least it's like, here are 4 options. Finding the baby body for Donald Trump for that one, and it was particularly creepy one, so it was quite an adventure. We went through several headless baby bodies before we found the appropriate one for Donald Trump. She had to orange it up a little bit and plump him out, but it all worked out in the end. I'll tell you one funny story about Lital, who some of you may have been in classes with. I won't tell this story about what your son did last night. Had nothing to do with it, but there was an incident with her son that she felt she needed to share with all of us on our work-related Slack channel. When I first sort of agreed to do a podcast, on the one hand I was really excited because I started my life in journalism on the technical side of radio and really fell in love with creating pictures people would never see, audio pictures. And I love the medium of radio, and I learned how to edit on reel-to-reel tape, the old reel-to-reel, and it's so magical the way that you create these sound essays with the old reel-to-reel tape. And I was trained in cutting tape by a journalist named Amy Goodman, who's the host of the show Democracy Now! And Amy Goodman was the single best tape editor, like actual analog tape editor that I've ever seen. She was just phenomenally good at it. And there were all these little tricks that you could do by slicing the tape in one direction to create a fade if you didn't have the ability to take it from one deck to the other deck. And so the first part of what I did in my life as a journalist was to become infatuated with creating audio images for people. And I was working at the old WBAI on University of Public Health. And it was on 8th Avenue, right across the street from Madison Square Garden. It was on the 35th floor of this building, and I'm from the Midwest. I had just sort of come to New York. I engaged in a full-on stalking campaign with Amy Goodman. Not creepy stalking, but a good kind of stalking. And unlike Mike Pence, I can be in a room with a woman who's not my wife and not be afraid that I'm going to have some horrible, sinful moment. People know what I'm talking about. Mike Pence cannot be in a room with a woman who's not his wife unless another person is in the room. It's totally true. We had a Christian jihadist as our vice president who was more in common with the Taliban than any student at SVA, than he had with any student at SVA. But when I was at WBAI, and the first day that I walked in there, first of all, the entire place smelled like a mixture of like really rancid body odor and weed. And there was a dude who was like he looked like my cousin It from the Munsters. He was just like a pile of hair. The mustache melted into the hair, but he was kind of like sleeping, and he had like some slime going down his mouth. And I thought he was dead, or maybe like stereo. Anyway, I walk in and I'm smelling the weed and getting buzzed off the contact, and I said, I'm here to see Amy, and he said, who? And I thought, that's Amy Goodman. Oh my God, I've been listening to her for several years, and she's like my hero. He had no idea who I was talking about. Anyway, I never left that place for years and years. It was my first day there, and I became really good actually at sound editing, and I started volunteering on every show. I volunteered on the opera show to help them edit something. I would do anything, even if I didn't know anything about the content, just to learn the trade of audio editing. And so when we started this podcast, Intercepted, and that was back in 97, 98, when I started in radio, when we started the Intercepted podcast, there was a part of me that was really excited about the idea of going back into that world of sound. And Lital was hired by our parent company, First Look Media, to develop a number of podcasts. And this is by far the most, news, militant, political one that she's doing. She also has been hunting Richard Simmons lately, which, okay, that's your thing, it's fine, She did try to get me to do promos for that, and I'm like, I'm not doing a promo for a show about stalking Richard Simmons. I'm sorry, I just won't do it. I have journalistic integrity. But at the beginning, it's a very successful podcast, way more than ours. But Lital comes from a completely different orientation of interest and perspective and experience than I do. And at first, Lital kind of drove me absolutely fucking nuts, because I was like, is this person going to disagree with everything I want to do and like turn this show? I don't want. Sarah Koenig is great, and I love Serial, but I don't want to be Sarah Koenig, and I don't want to be the NPR mug tote bag podcast. But I too completely misjudged Lital, and now like I adore Lital and realize that there's this necessity, I think, in our society, particularly at times like this, to always have a check on our reality from people that come from a different perspective. On the one hand, it keeps you grounded. On the other hand, it reminds you that you're at your most effective when you can communicate with a wider audience of people and not just exist within your bubble. And Lital really has, I think, elevated what we're doing on the show to a level that allows us to engage in a dialogue that we're hearing from a lot of people, and because of the stakes of what's happening with Trump being in power and the executive orders that he's passing, and now this declaration of war on the environment and the Muslim ban and the stakes for women and women's reproductive rights, that it's necessary that we have programs and publications and journalists and cultural figures that people can relate to and seek some comradely relationship with that unites all of us, even if we aren't physically meeting each other. And so part of what we've tried to do with our show, with Intercepted, is to not just have it be pummeling you with what my friend David Riker, who wrote Dirty Wars, the film with me, said is a catalog of horrors, because it's overwhelming, and everybody knows that it's completely, horribly fucked right now. But what is it that we do as people when fascistic movements take power? Number one, you resist. But number two, you have to protect the institutions that make us human. What makes us human? It's our ability to laugh and to have a sense of humor and to enjoy beautiful art and to appreciate the diversity of music that exists in our globe, and to read great works of literature and to be among each other and not just be people that are guided by the devices that we all carry around in our pockets, which are simultaneously surveying us and pumping us full of misinformation and corporate information and way too much information about who we're sleeping with and who they slept with and what our mom is doing at any given moment in the grocery store, because she's telling you in all caps that she found a deal on this kind of peanut butter. Anyway, that just came into my head. I'm sorry, and my mom actually has stopped putting Facebook in all caps, and she has a Twitter account. She still has the egg, but she's there. She hasn't quite graduated to Snapchat yet, and if something goes wrong with my dad, I think she maybe would go on Tinder, but my guess is they're going to stick it out until the death do they part. So it was really important from the very, very beginning that the show not just be, oh my God, here's the latest horror that you need to be outraged about, or here's this despicable policy that has just been implemented by the White House. We do all of that, but we also are inviting a diverse array of musical artists to, in some cases, perform original works on our show, but in a stripped down way. Most of them are a cappella. There have been some artists, like the punk band from Pittsburgh, Anti-Flag, that recorded a song that is a really amped up electric song. They went into the garage of one of the band members and they recorded an acoustic version of their song Brandenburg Gate just for our show, and it focuses on the lyrics, on the message of what they're doing. And we've had just on today's show, we have the Bay Area hip hop artist who's a really legendary figure named Boots Riley, who his original group was called The Coup. More recently, he has a group called Street Sweeper Social Club with Tom Morello, who was one of the founding members of Rage Against the Machine. And Boots Riley did an a cappella version of his song Ghetto Blaster and updated it to change some of the lyrics to be about Donald Trump.
and because he wrote it when Obama was president, and there was a reference in it to Bush, and he flipped it and put in, he jiggered the lyrics a little bit to make it about Trump, and there's something kind of awesomely subtle about what he did there, because it's basically the same shit, different administration, you know, in some ways, but he didn't have to say, and I redid this song so that it was updated. He just did it, and he sent it in to us. And we're having the artists just do it by recording it on their phones. We want it to have a kind of analog human feel. It's not meant to be big and produced. And we had a gut-wrenching song from Kimya Dawson, who I think a lot of people know because of the movie Juno, even though she's had a prolific career and has jumped genres. And, you know, she's probably most famous for the band Moldy Peaches, and you know, you're a part-time lover and full-time. That's how most people know about Kimya Dawson. But her song was, sorry for singing, I'm a terrible singer. This is not karaoke night, and I promise you there will be no more singing for me the rest of the evening. But Kimya Dawson did this, it was just a brutal, beautiful, soulful, into her iPhone rendition of a song about Black Lives Matter that also talked about the killing of black transgender women. And talked about the killing of people for allegedly selling loose cigarettes, and it was, you know, I mean, I my eyes welled up when I heard the rendition of that song that she sent into us, because you could hear her voice breaking, and also you know that she was sitting in her own house alone, recording this into her phone. And on that episode, when we aired the Kimya Dawson piece, I said that that we are not just having musical acts on here to kind of give the show a little bit of oomph. We're doing it as a direct response to fascistic tendencies to want to stamp down on culture and cultural expression and artistic expression. And another thing that we've done is we are working with actors, and we're doing something that I really am excited about, and we've done, I think, 3 of them now. But we're producing radio dramas that are nonfiction, that are based on top secret documents provided to us by Edward Snowden. And so the first one that we did, which I can play you guys a little clip of if you can help me, was the incredible and very underrated actor Peter Sarsgaard, who is just an utterly brilliant actor. And he's been helping coordinate, he's sort of an unofficial staffer at Intercepted. But what we did with Peter was we took an NSA document about and this was provided by Edward Snowden. It is a top secret document, and it was about a guy who works for the NSA and gets sent down to the Guantanamo prison to participate in the interrogation of prisoners early on in the War on Terror, so-called War on Terror, and discovers while he's in Guantanamo, interrogating prisoners, that it's a fantastic place to go on a vacation. Like, as part of your official job, you get to also be on vacation in Guantanamo. So what we're going to play now is and you know that it has to be off this microphone, because it is a quiz. Is verbatim. We did not change a word of this document. So here is Peter Sarsgaard, starring as an NSA operative, who goes down to Guantanamo to help interrogate prisoners and discovers it's an amazing place to hang out.
The interrogation focus at Guantanamo is strategic. Tactical questioning is accomplished in theater to see what they know, categorize them accordingly, and determine what requirements they can satisfy. The work can be extremely interesting, challenging, and very fulfilling. On a given week, the NSA LNO might pull together intelligence to support an upcoming interrogation, formulate questions and strategies for the interrogation, and observe or participate in the interrogation. Afterward, the LNO captures and disseminates pertinent technical information gleaned from the interrogation back to the NSA. Outside work, fun awaits, opportunities abound. Water sports are outstanding. Boating, paddling, fishing, water skiing and boarding, sailing, swimming, snorkeling, and scuba. No experience, no problem. Learn how to operate a boat in a weekend. Become a certified open water scuba diver within weeks. If you've already mastered these skills, or once you do, The MWR Marina rents boats from pontoon party boats to Carolina skiffs to ski boats to kayaks. Recently, they've added sailboat rentals too. The local dive shop has all the gear and tips to ensure a perfect outing. Water sport's not your cup of tea, but many other activities to round your day off. The library has 24 internet terminals and over 1,000 videos. Or take in a movie at the outdoor theater featuring a weekly variety of the latest releases. Other activities include pottery, hiking, nature walks, biking, paintball, martial arts.
About as far as I can take the scales without starting to set my finger in that fresh yellow. So it looks like that's about a stopping point for the weekend.
Or just relax.
I just thickly applied another coat of that lemon yellow and blended it in with some ochre at the top of the outlines of the buildings and kind of made a nice blend. So everything's starting to be a bit more integrated. A little bit more shadow work on his face,
a longer than that, and it goes back and forth between interrogating
a little better
prisoners
definition overall now with the Prussian blue glaze work on the interior of her form. Also, yeah, that's scale. Scaling is about halfway there, right? So, you know, considering the size of the scales and how much longer is left, I'll probably be able to finish that next weekend and start coloring them, hopefully. And other than that, this one's going to take a while to develop, but I'm liking the start. So thank you for watching. That's Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico, working on the oil painting. Here we are. Have a good night, Earth.